eventful week for the Supreme Court of India, with many Constitution Bench judgments, hundreds of urgent mentionings, many politically important cases that have come up for hearing before the top court, and even the retirement of one of the judges, Justice Dinesh Maheshwari from the Supreme Court. Let's recap and understand all that has happened in the top court during the past week and its significance. The Kerala story has been a big flashpoint before the Supreme Court this week. Multiple petitions have been filed before the top court seeking a stay on the release of the film, but the Supreme Court has junked them all. During the hearing on one of the petitions, CJI even asked how many times will this be challenged. The CJI also made the stand of the top court clear when he said that the market will decide whether the movie is up to the mark or not, and flat out refused to issue any kind of stay on the release of the movie. The makers too were compelled to move the top court when states like West Bengal and Tamil Nadu began to contemplate banning the movie in the state. Senior advocate Harish Salve, who appeared for the makers before the bench of CJI Chandrachud and Justice P.S. Narasimha, argued that the movie was losing money every day that the ban was in place. In a significant statement, the CJI remarked that the movie is about artistic freedom, and when it can be released in all other states in the country, West Bengal was no different. The Supreme Court has been in the absolute thick of things when it comes to the political crisis that broke out in Maharashtra last year after Shiv Sena's Eknath Shinde, along with some MLAs, split from Uddhav Thackeray and his MLAs and created a rift in the political party. The rift in the party triggered a storm in Maharashtra and dismantled everything that came in its way. The matter reached the Supreme Court, as political cases often do, and judges raised crucial constitutional questions on defection, powers of the Speaker, the Governor, the Election Commission, and lots more. After almost 1 year, the 5-judge Constitution Bench, led by CJI DY Chandrachud, pronounced the verdict in these multiple petitions. Both sides have emerged claiming a victory in the case. But what does the verdict actually say, and who has emerged victorious? On most of the issues that were framed by the court, the bench has sided with Uddhav Thackeray and his faction. The court has held that the appointment of the whip by the Speaker, appointment of Eknath Shinde as the legislative party leader, and the order of the Governor calling for a floor test were all illegal. The court has also said that the 2 earlier judgments of the Supreme Court on the powers of the Speaker, that is the 1992 Quixote Holohan judgment and the 2016 Nabam Rabia judgment, are in contradiction to one another, which is why it is important that a larger 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court decide whether the Speaker of an assembly can decide on disqualification of the legislators when the notice for the removal of the Speaker himself is pending before the floor of the House. Most importantly, the Supreme Court has said, and this is where the Uddhav Thackeray faction is on the back foot, that the status quo before the Shiv Sena Rift cannot be restored simply because Uddhav Thackeray resigned as the Maharashtra CM voluntarily. On the contrary, if he had faced the floor test, even if he had lost, the status quo could have been restored because the order calling for the floor test that was issued by the Governor itself was illegal, making its outcome absolutely irrelevant. One of the most important verdicts from the Supreme Court in recent times was pronounced by a 5-judge bench led by CJI Chandrachud this week. The long-standing dispute between the Delhi government and the centre over who controls administrative services in the national capital, or what we popularly call the civil servants, was finally brought to a close, or so we thought. The top court has ruled in favour of the Aam Aadmi Party government in the national capital and has said that the power of a democratically elected state government cannot be diluted by the centre. The bench has also reminded the Lieutenant Governor that his job requires him to work with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers led by the Chief Minister himself, and that centre and the Delhi government must work together for the administration of the national capital. As a result of this verdict, the transfers and postings of the civil servants in Delhi will be controlled by the Delhi government in all departments except land, police and public order, as is mentioned under the constitution. The Aam Aadmi Party called the verdict a big win, going to the extent of hailing the Chief Justice of India as the country's hero. Interestingly, merely one day after the verdict, Delhi government was back in the Supreme Court, and this time it was against the centre's decision to not implement the removal of the Secretary of Delhi Government Services Department, Ashish More, despite the decision of the Delhi government to transfer him. The transfer appeared to be one of the many, with Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal warning of a major administrative reshuffle after the top court's verdict. But will the centre continue to block them all is the main question. A story that has captured the headline for the past few months have been the petitions filed in the top court seeking legal recognition for same-sex marriages in India. A Supreme Court 5-judge bench led by CJI Chandrachud for 10 straight days held marathon hearings on multiple petitions filed by many same-sex couples asking for their fundamental right to get married. The verdict was finally reserved this week and is likely to be pronounced by the top court only post the summer vacations in June. Centre has boldly opposed the Supreme Court granting legal recognition for same-sex marriages and has said clearly that the issue does not fall in the domain of the court at all. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta has argued that it should be left up to the Parliament to decide what route to take when it comes to the same-sex couples and their petitions. The verdict is expected in the next few months and will be a crucial landmark for the rights of the LGBTQ community in India. The Bihar government has moved the Supreme Court challenging a Patna High Court order staying the caste census in the state. The appeal filed by the Bihar government before the Supreme Court says that the High Court has erroneously examined the merits of the case at the interim stage and touched upon the legislative competence of the state while passing the order. Interestingly, the High Court had heard the pleas challenging the ongoing caste survey in Bihar, specifically on the directions of the Supreme Court, and the matter has now found its way back to the top court once again. The hearing in this case is still awaited before the Supreme Court of India.